7:30, so we'll start if that's all right. And we'll go. I'll just the agenda's changed a little from what David put on the internet, but we'll do. Well, this is the welcome. This is the first part. So welcome all of you here. Thank you for coming along. It is partly a supporters club meeting, but also fans forum as well. So we're going to do an update on the supporters club, talk about where we're at and what we still need some help with. And the alcohol awareness training was on the agenda, but there's no need for that anymore because I've learned to drink wine by the pint. So no, the reason being is that Paula will tell you later why that doesn't need to be there. And then we'll go to Simon, and Simon will tell you his thoughts, and Brendan, I guess, and any questions about what they've got to say or you want to know about. And then Paula will do a club update, and we'll also be open for questions and things like that. And then to keep you all here till the very end, I have an exclusive this evening that the results of the Limerick competition will be announced right at the end, so you hang on to the end of this bit, yes? Good. Okay, so from the supporters club viewpoint, we've met twice, as a committee actually, we've met 3 times in total. The downside of it is that understandably, Colin and Matt have had to take a step back. Matt's got a lot of work on. He still wants to help, and Colin has got some health issues. If hopefully, when they're resolved, he'll come back on. But what that means is that we are now light on the Supporters Club Committee, which is myself, Brian, Tony, David and Chris Dale. And Chris Dale obviously has found it difficult to get to a lot of things because of his work situation. So what I'm asking is if anybody else is willing to come forward and be an active committee member, it would be very useful. It's going to be a struggle running it the way with how many we've got at the moment. So if you don't want to put your hand up now, perhaps you could tell me later if you would be interested in doing that. That also then knocks on to whether I was hoping that we'd have everybody here and we could discuss as a supporters club who we'd like to nominate as a representative to attend board meetings. I think given that a number of things have changed and we haven't got a lot of people available to do that from the current committee, we need to, I want to get the committee a bit bigger and then we can see who on that committee wants to or would be up for doing that. And it isn't a matter of just I want to do it, it's a matter of you need to fit the criteria in terms of commitment obviously, but also understanding perhaps a little bit about some of the things that are going on. And there will be, I guess, moments where you have to respect confidentiality and you need to be assured that you can keep that. So those sort of things need to be thought about. So if there's nobody willing to put their hand up now, come and see me afterwards, I'm sure you will. Brian, can you update where we are with membership numbers and money and everything and this wonderful new merchandise?
Yes, the membership currently stands at 83 with £408.50 in the bank. And I have these lovely scarves and supporters club badges for sale. Special offer, £10 for the 2.
Jolly good, thanks. And you've got more stuff coming through.
More stuff coming next week. Yeah. Is Michelle in the room tonight?
Yeah.
She is, come behind you. Yeah.
Right, I'll speak to you later.
Yeah.
Michelle has a modelling assignment, I believe.
Oh, I hope not.
And so more stuff will be coming through. In terms of the shop, we're still talking with Paula and everybody about how that's going to operate, but it is gradually working its way forward so that hopefully by the start of next season the shop will be sorted out and we'll all know what we're doing with it.
There is a sale on in the club shop if anyone wants to have a butchers around. Loads of cheap stuff going.
And it's not rotten, is it?
It's not rotten.
No. They've chucked out all the rotten stuff. Now, David Eaves has taken on the role of secretary within the club and is doing a great job on that. But David also has some news which, do you want to say that now?
Well, yes, thank you, Chris. Paula approached me about a week and a half ago and asked whether I'd be interested in taking on a role on the board in looking after community projects, which I've accepted, and we've started work on that, which then makes it a little bit more difficult for myself to be on the supporters club as well as on the board. Hence, that's why we desperately need some more people to volunteer.
Yeah, because I don't know if people remember, one of the things that we said going back a time was that hopefully the person that's the supporters club representative on the or to the board will not be the same person as somebody that's got a specific responsibility on the board. So David now has a specific responsibility on the board as well as acting secretary for the supporters club. And until we get more people come forward, we're going to have to compromise on that differentiation, or whatever it was, and continue with the way we are. But I think that's the best compromise we can come up with at this stage. Any questions on the supporters club and where we're going, what we're doing? Okay, thanks. Well, thanks. Well, let's move on then to Simon, and he's going to tell us about what he's been up to.
We set up by 7 to start. I didn't think I would be actually talking with that number 15 and 20 minutes. The times when I've been at a fans forum before, with the manager, when I've been the other side of the table, I've basically put out to the audience whether they've got any questions to ask. Before I do that, all I would say to you in terms of where the club is at the moment on the playing front, you'll all be well aware that we've had several departures in the time I've been here because of the financial situation. I think we are now at a point where I don't think it's going to get any worse. And we've got a couple of new faces in, as you saw Saturday, signed another one. And I am looking for next season really and building for next season. A lot of it will be based on my conversations with Paula and the budget, the playing budget that I have for next season. So, you know, that will be sort of our main focus really for the next couple of weeks to sort of work out where we are from there. And then we'll be starting plans in earnest for the 2016-2017. I think it's probably fair to say it's been difficult in the time I've been here with what I've had to deal with the financial situation and all the rest that's gone on. But as I said, I'm confident what we've got at the moment is going to be here for the end, until the end of the season. So that's essentially where we are. I mean, you've seen the results. You know, I don't need to go over that. Performance-wise, you know, I think we're moving in the right direction with the squad that we've got. But there's plenty more work to do. So if any of you guys have got any questions about the playing side of things for either myself or Brendan, now's your opportunity.
Can we do it with hands up, please, so that...
Or none.
Or none. I'm sure there are questions, are there not?
Yeah. Some of the departed players, word of mouth is a lot of them are coming back next season. Is there any truth in that?
Who have you been talking to then, Brian?
There are loads of people.
I can believe that as well.
Most of it comes from Mark Dale, actually.
You don't need to worry about that. All of the players that are left, and I think probably I can't think of any that have left on sort of, you know, in bad circumstances. They've left for the financial reasons. You know, everybody knows where we were with the finances, and I said to them all that when I sat down and had a chat with Paula about where we are for budgets for next year, then I would give them a call. Some of them have said, yeah, I'd love to come back. Some have said, yeah, we'll have a chat, see where I am at the start of the season. I mean, you've got to understand, these guys have now left the club and they were playing elsewhere, so they will be, they'll be pestered by the managers they've got at the moment for next season and probably other clubs as well. So, you know, it's not just a case of them coming back to the club because we've now got a budget again. We need to have conversations with them, and they need to know that they're coming back in the circumstances that I want them to be at the club for. As I said, taking over halfway through the season, I've had to fight a lot of fires with regards to getting players out on the pitch. So when they said, oh, I can't make training or I'm not available this week for whatever reason, then I've had to really sort of go along with that. Well, I'm hoping to be a little bit more forceful in respect to training and things like that for next season. If players don't like the regime that Brendan and myself are going to imposed next year, then they may not come back. But essentially, to answer your question, pretty much everybody that's left has intimated that they'd have a chat with me about coming back next year.
Anybody else?
It's going to be short and sweet. I'll be home by 9.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a statement really rather than a question. That I think the performance of those lads on Saturday, I think put in a lot more effort than some of the people that played for us before and were paid for playing. I thought they put in a terrific amount of effort. And it's a compliment to you two.
It's a very valid point. I think I was wondering whether I might be fielding some questions here about sort of how the side's developed or not, as the case may be, since I've been here, because essentially before I joined the club the budget was around sort of £1,700 a week, which is a very good budget for the standard of football that we're in. We were paying players pretty decent amount of money, and yet the club were 18th, 19th in the league when I took over. So something wasn't quite right, you know. And had I had the financial sort of resources behind me, then maybe there would have been a lot of changes that would have been made, regardless of whether we have players in and budgets and all, you know, finances and all the rest of it. But yeah, you're right. I think some of the performances have shown that. But one of the things I don't want you to get too excited about is the performance on Saturday being acceptable. Because at the end of the day, we lost the game. And I've said in the press, and I'll say to you now, I don't care how we win. To a certain extent, I want us to win games, so I'd rather we win ugly. I spoke to Dave Webb, the Superman manager, after the game. He was very complimentary about the way we played for 60-70 minutes. But I'd rather have been in his shoes, because they didn't play particularly well for the first half, because we didn't let them. But they ground the result out, and that's why they are where they are in the league, and that's where I want us to be. So I'd be happy to field questions saying that we're not sure we're playing the best way, or that we're not playing the best formation, or not playing particularly attractive football. It's about winning games, and that's what I want to get that ethos into the players. So thank you for saying how well we did on Saturday, but ultimately we got no points out of it.
I'd just like to qualify that a little bit in that we competed on Saturday. All right, I mean the result was a disappointment, but you weren't here at the beginning of the season. We've never really competed in midfield like they did on Saturday, first half. And that was quite good to see. And also they used the pitch, whereas it was always a bit of a joke that they never used the top part of the field earlier on. So it's good to see it.
So we'll try and make the most of the next use of the whole of the pitch, but thanks. Yeah, that's what I've had to deal with. We've had the budget can't completely. Players essentially are playing for nothing. So I've had to wheel and deal, and Brendan and myself, we've got a bit of experience of football at this level, so we know what needs to be done. I would imagine probably if we're having this fans forum after we played, was it Mansfield, and we lost 3-0, and we were poor, the questions fielded might be slightly different. But essentially we back our judgment of what needs to be done on the football pitch, and sometimes it means winning really ugly, sometimes it means hoofing the ball as far down away from our goal as possible because of the pitch we're playing on and the players we've got on our pitch on our side. But Saturday we said, and we will continue to tell players to go out and express themselves and try and play football. There's a time and a place for all types of football to be played at this level. Sometimes route one works, sometimes passing it around, short passing will work, and we'll do what we need to, what we think needs to be done to get the result.
Will you and Brendan be here next season?
Do you know someone I don't then?
No. What I'm saying is, if you don't get a substantial budget, will you stay here?
Oh, the question you're asking me.
Well, that's got to be asked, isn't it?
It is. I think sometimes, all you people here are fans of the football club. You love Wimborne Town Football Club. That's why you're saying. Brendan and myself, we're not lovers of Wimborne Football Club yet. Okay, I took the job on the basis that it was a job for me to take a good standard of football, a good club, and I was at that point I was getting paid for it. Now, as you know, the financial situation is such that hasn't happened now, and so Brendan and myself are doing this not completely out of the goodness of our own heart, because we see the bigger picture, and that's why we've said that we want to be here for the long run. But it's a valid question. If I have a conversation with Paula in a couple of weeks' time, she said there's no budget to work with next year, then me and Brendan will have to sit down and decide whether it's right for us to keep coming up from Weymouth 3 times a week and putting the effort and the commitment that we have done so far to the club. And that's nothing against Wimborne. You know, I'd argue with if you were in a similar situation, what your thoughts would be. I've always had an idea that Wimborne is a club that's got potential, and that's, I think, where we're looking at. And that if we've got that little bit of financial assistance behind us in terms of a workable playing budget, then we can get the best out of it and get this club moving in the right direction. So that's our aim. You know, if Paula and I have a conversation next week or week, whenever it is, that's not as constructive as that, then I said, I'll be honest, me and Brendan will have to sit down and decide what's best for us. But I'm hoping, and you know, the few conversations that we have had, is that things are moving in the right direction, that we've got money to work next year, and that's our intention to be here. And I mean, we've been making plans already for pre-season. You know, I've got a list about that long. I haven't shown Paula yet about what I want for next year. She'll probably and I don't just mean players either. And Jeff and John will be contributing to that as well, because we want the club to just be a better place. Because it's not always about what you pay the players as well each week. It's about what you're bringing. You know, the whole environment you're bringing players into, that we've got a good physiotherapy base, that we've got good equipment, that we've got good training facilities, that, you know, when we go away, that we look after players and make sure they get fed. It's all little things like that that make up the club being a good club. And that's all the messages that I've got since I've been here, that it is a good club. We just need to kick on. So I'm hoping I'll be part of that.
Yeah, we think that, you know, we come into the football club and I think it helps us. We've got good people behind us with Mace, Jeff and John and the ladies and the supporters and everything like that. And that certainly helps us. And with the support we've had so far and away from home, and, you know, that certainly helps. Thanks very much.
Any more? No? Well done then, thank you. Yeah, you've done well there.
On 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. So let's move over to Paula then, and Paula will update us with what she can and how things have gone.
I want to stand up because I'm a bit small, I can't see people. It was a bit of a different picture when I stood here 6 weeks ago. Obviously announced the financial state that the club was in. So if you want to cast your mind back to then, I announced that the club was somewhere in the region of £110,000 in debt. In actual fact, it was worse than that. We did a bit more digging and it was nearer £120,000 in debt. That said, remember on the night, several of the old directors stood up and waived their money in lieu of shares, to write off, their debt in lieu of shares, which immediately took quite a big chunk out of that debt. I also positioned that there are 2 loans out there still, friends of the club. It's still debt, even though both those people have been fantastic in saying that they will wait for their money. It's still debt. We also had a brewery loan, which we still have, which added to it. In terms of where we are now, we have reduced our debts to £35,000. That consists of the 2 debts that I've talked to you about, the 2 loans plus the brewery loan. Probably more concerning, if there can be something more concerning than £120,000 worth of debt, was the fact that the company, the business, wasn't actually generating any income. So it wasn't just a question of reducing the debt, it was a question of making sure that we generated income to support an outgoing, which at that time was around £16,000 a month. We weren't getting anywhere near it. We were making a shortfall of between £6,000 and £8,000 a month, which meant that however much we reduced that initial debt, it was only going to grow bigger unless we did something about it. As you know, what we had to do, unfortunately, was to cut the players' budget. Just to communicate completely how that works, most players play for nothing. We have 2 players on contract where we are obliged to pay their wages. So at the moment, the players play for expenses only, apart from those 2 players that are on contract. We have a management team and a support team that don't earn a penny either. So, you know, there's an awful lot of support in the room from those players. At the time of the meeting 6 weeks ago, we weren't in a positive position in the bank and we had credit card debt. We are now in a positive position in the bank and we don't have credit card debt. So there were 3 options I gave at the start of that meeting, which were the club could go bust, the club could enter into a CVA, which is a company voluntary agreement, or we could sort of fight the fight and move on. So I'm really, really pleased. I think the first piece of positive news this evening is that Wimborne Town is not going to go bust. It is not going to go into a CVA. It is going to continue. We've steadied the ship and we're turning it around to make sure that we stay in this league and move beyond it. So I think that in 6 weeks we've achieved an awful lot. I think it's fair to say that the reason we've achieved what we've achieved is because of the people that have been hard at work. That includes the voluntary staff, some of whom are sitting in the room, that have been around this club for a long, long time. Graham here, who's been absolutely fantastic. Tony Grant, Val Grant, the tea ladies, Mr McCann, Mr Brown here. Everybody has been amazing. Bucket collectors, I mean, there's been events happening everywhere, either in the town, at the home games, whenever, wherever. Posters out there, Save Our Club campaign launched. I was actually at the Bournemouth game on Saturday and a lady came up to me and said, look, you know, I've been reading about Wimborne Town, haven't got a lot of money, but I'd like to give you something. She gave me £50, she's a pensioner. That's the level of, just people are fantastic, you know, and that's happened. There's a guy from Reading that's donated £100. We had 2 guys down from Leicester. I know that there are 1 or 2 guys here with Leicester City scarves on, but actually a few weeks ago at one of our home games, 2 guys travelled from Leicester because Leicester City went home. They like to support grassroots and they came to Wimborne, and they came because they'd heard about our plight. So, you know, the support is tremendous. We would not be here without the volunteers and the support of people in this room. So I know you probably don't like me because I'm a bit corporate when I do things like this, but please can you give yourself a round of applause for that? Because at the time, again 6 weeks ago, I stood here pretty much on my own. Simon and Brendan were here. Someone very wise told me not to rush at creating a board of directors. It was more important to actually have the right people. What's transpired in the last few weeks is that there have been several people around that were potential for the board. What's happened in those 6 weeks is they've become quite obvious, so I just want to announce who they are. From the existing board, Dennis isn't here tonight, but Dennis Cadd is still on the board of directors and has a responsibility for looking after the youth. New directors, Paul Mayer I already did introduce, and Paul has a specific responsibility for the negotiations with the new ground, so he is negotiating with David Wyatt. He knows him quite well. Andy Collins you are sat to my left. Andy takes on responsibility for the clubhouse, director of clubhouse and operations. Andy has a lot of experience in this arena. There'll be several people in the room that either recognise him or know him. He's a fantastic addition to the board. David Eames, as you have already been told, heads up Director of Community Projects. And where that is obviously we had Steve Cuss here before as manager and also working in the community, but more so on behalf of AFC Bournemouth. You know, part of David's remit is to turn Wimborne black and white and not black and red. We want to start to communicate our own community projects, and he's already made inroads into several schools. There's loads to do. I'll be here forever explaining what that is, but I welcome him to the board. Paul Miller is a name that you all know. I announced 6 weeks ago that he had taken the decision not to join the board. He was concerned that his own business would take up too much of his time, but it just got the better of him in the end. He's a Wimborne Town man. He still has a lot to offer, and he has taken a position back on the board. What he will be doing is looking after he basically will head up football development. That can mean all sorts of things. but he will have an active role with the youth setup and with the 18s reserves, and we'll liaise closely with Simon and Brendan. Paul Barlow, he was here at the last meeting. He was advising us on marketing, advertising, media. He has now taken a position on the board looking after those areas. He's a local businessman. He runs his own marketing empire in Wimborne, a very talented individual. He's already done a lot for the club with our Save Our Club campaign and the website, which he's developing together with Bespoke for Business. So basically, every director has assumed responsibility for a specific role, and it basically complements their skill set. So we have a board of directors who are a working board, and we will meet as regularly as we need to ensure the club is going in the right direction. The major news, if the club survival isn't enough, is the fact that we have secured a major 2-year sponsorship deal. I won't and I can't mention the company's name at the moment because we're in an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement with them until things have been signed. All I will say is that this company currently sponsor a football league team. It's a huge deal for Wimborne Town, and it's going to really help the club move forward. So I think probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks I will be able to release the name of that company. We've also had to look at Valentoni in particular, and Graham, if you sorry, not an afterthought, Graham, have been looking after all the corporate side of things, the events. So if there's been a birthday party, an anniversary, players' food, match sponsors, they've been doing it. It was only ever meant to be short term. It probably has crept in. 6 weeks is probably a bit more than that. But we've been looking around for the right partner. We've been looking around for the right partner in a lot of areas, and one of them is in catering. So again, I'm pleased to announce that we've actually entered into a partnership with Millstream Bistro. I don't know if anyone here has been to Millstream Bistro. They're a Wimborne-based business. Mark, the chef, Michelin, 2-star Michelin chef. From now on, they will be providing our catering arm. They probably won't be cooking on premises. A lot of it will be done in their own facility and then brought here. The first taster of that actually will be on the 31st of March, which is our sportsman's dinner. They're going to be catering for that. And I think, moving forward, that's great news for the club because on Saturdays, we at the moment have probably 1 match sponsor and maybe a ball sponsor. Next season, the plan is that we will have 6 to 8 tables filled and being catered by Millstream and in partnership with Wimborne Town. In terms of events scheduled, the first one is the Jeff Hurst Sportsman's Dinner. Thank you to Mr. McIntyre. I did see him a minute ago. Where are you, Brian? Brian said that he could probably get Sir Jeff Hurst to come along and speak at a sportsman's dinner, which in most people's world would just be, yeah, of course you can. But actually he did. Fantastic. Those tickets sold within about 20 minutes of being communicated. That's the first one, so that's on the 31st of March. You're probably aware that Jeff Mostyn and AFC Bournemouth have been absolutely amazing in their support for the club, and they're putting on a black tie event on the 20th of May at the Vitality Stadium, completely funded by AFC Bournemouth, all proceeds to Wimborne Town. That got sold out within days. So that's 200 seats at that event, and there's a lot of potential on the night to earn more money. There'll be auctions and what have you. I've spoken to Harry. Harry, by the way, is still on the board as a non-executive director. And the good thing about Harry is that he will open doors. If you say to him, well, can you help us? And he'll say, well, what do you want me to do? I had a coffee with him the other day and said, well, what about a golf day? And he's a member of Remedy Oak, which, again, I don't know if many of you know, is probably one of the most sought-after courses to play on in the area. He said, yeah, I think I could do something for you. I'll tell you what, I'll put a legend in every team. We'll have 18 teams, and I'll stick a legend in every one of them. I'll, probably get Frank Lampard and Brian Lara, and I'll get Latiers and Souness, and just reeling them off like they were easy to get hold of, which I guess in Harry's world they are. We are putting on a Remedy Oak Golf Day, courtesy of Mr Redknapp. Can't remember the date, it's at the end of May, but I can communicate that. Also asked if he would put on a Legends 11, so again, it'll be something in the close season over here. Again, just get hopefully current players, if not maybe only sort of recently retired players. We just need to go into a bit more detail, so that will happen. And again, it's just getting the emphasis on the club, getting people here, putting events on. Those are just a few things. I mean, we've got lots and lots of plans for the Euros and lots of other events. But I just wanted to sort of give you the highlights. Something which may or may not happen, but we've actually been approached by a production company who were really interested in doing something for us on telly. Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah, Graham saw this guy. Was at a psychic fair. Was it last Sunday? A couple of Sundays ago.
Sundays ago.
Yeah. He got dragged along by his wife. But basically, he runs a production company who liaise quite regularly with Sky. Sky are bringing out a new sports channel called Front Runners, and they're very interested in doing a documentary on Wimborne Town. Equally, so are the BBC interested in doing a documentary on Wimborne Town. Now, I'm not daft, it's because of Harry, you know, and initially it was kind of like, oh yes, but we want to do a piece on Harry Redknapp saves Wimborne Town. And I've said, well, that's absolutely fantastic, because I know that Harry is the media draw, but actually, Harry Redknapp hasn't saved Wimborne Town. He's brilliant, he's opened doors for us, but we've saved Wimborne Town, the supporters have, the volunteers have, the town has, not Harry Redknapp. So, without being bolshy, I kind of said to them, well, we'd love it, you know, we're not in a position to say no to media coverage, but there has to be a consistent message. We saved our own club, not Harry, but if Harry wants to talk about why he was interested in helping Wimborne Town, that would be great. So I'm just waiting to hear back as to whether or not they're still interested. But, you know, I just wanted you to know that we're being asked for interviews by all manner of media, which is really good for the club. Finally, just want to give you a bit of an update on the new stadium. I mentioned that Paul Mayer is the director in charge of the negotiations with Wyatt's, and he is on a skiing holiday at the moment, so he can't comment. All I can tell you is that the negotiations are on track in terms of the level of provision. So there's been some question about, well, what are we going to get? Is it what we've got now? I think there's been an awful lot of negotiation over a lot of years, and it's been toing and froing, and one minute we've got something and the next minute we've got something else. All I can tell you is that we will have a 3G pitch and we will have a training pitch. Which way round, one will be grass, one will be 3G, I don't know. The ins and outs of how the setup is in the club is being negotiated, but we will get what we want. Probably the thing that you want to know the most is, well, when's it going to happen? We will be in our new home not until 2019. Now, I don't know if that is season 2019-20 or in January in 2019, but we will be in our new home then. The reason we're not going to be in any quicker than that is because there is some dispute over a strip of land somewhere, as there always is. It's got nothing to do with Wyatt's and us not communicating and not negotiating properly. It's to do with covenants and restrictions and the usual. So, on the whole, I'm very pleased with those negotiations. Slightly disappointed that we're not moving until 2019, but what that means is that we're still here. We've still got another nearly 3 years, and we need to make the most of it. So, as far as I'm concerned, all of the initiatives that are going on at the moment is to drive income into the club, to provide the players' budget, and move the club forward. And I spoke to Simon earlier about budgets. We will sit down in the next probably 3 weeks and talk about what those budgets are. One thing that I did promise him, and I will promise everyone here, is whatever budget we do come up with will be sustainable. It will not be cut halfway through a year. It is going to be set to ensure that it's consistent and it meets with our objectives to drive things forward for the club. So that's the communication from me. If you've got any questions, please fire away.
Do I get paid? Paula,
Yeah.
the directors that you just reeled off, have they made any financial commitment to the club, or have they taken the club over for nothing?
No, there's no financial commitment from any of
Or
us.
don't you think they're all to do?
No,
Why
absolutely
not?
not.
Surely, if you want to take a business over, you take its debt on, or you buy the business. You don't walk in and take it over for nothing.
Well, I don't think we've done that actually. I think you'll find that we took on £120,000 worth of debt and we managed to get that
Not that was
down.
written off. What I'm saying is,
No,
I
it's
do
not
feel
written.
that directors should make some financial
No, I
commitment.
don't. No.
Well, I disagree with you there.
And why do you disagree?
No, I feel there should be. You can't look and take over rate, make a commitment. You expect
what-
the fans,
what commit-
you expect the fans to dip in and pay, but you're not prepared to put any money in yourself.
Right,
Therefore,
okay.
This consortium you had to start with, who there again don't seem to be here. This was going to be a consortium, you're going to take the company over, then there's no money coming. I believe that the whole idea was the previous directors resigning, was that you were going to financially take the club over and
No,
make
you've got-
some financial commitment to the
No,
club.
you've got that totally wrong. Sorry about that.
Different than what I heard,
Well, who did you hear that from?
but not the same.
Okay. Anybody else with anything constructive? Dave?
Yeah, going on from what's just been said there, when we had the meeting 6 weeks ago, it was mentioned by yourself that you had a group of people who were prepared to come in and put money into the club.
No, I said we had people that would look to invest once we'd steadied the ship.
That's right.
I've got that person.
That person.
Well, we have got a company that is going to sponsor, as a total sponsor, Wimborne Town Football Club.
It's different.
Why is it different?
It's not commitment from directors. That's a completely separate thing.
Do you think that the board of directors here have other jobs to do during the day, or do you think that we're just here to support Wimborne
If you
Town? We
come
have
and
day
take the club
jobs.
over, I just feel you should make some commitment to it financially.
I don't actually want to answer any more of your questions. I'd like them to be directed to
You
somebody
made your
else.
point. It's a circular conversation. There's no point going over it. Well done on getting a sponsorship
Thank
deal
you.
for 2 years. I think that's awesome. That is really good news for the club.
Yeah.
Really positive to hear that. Obviously, we're looking to have 6 to 8 sponsors in every game. I can't tell you how personally excited I am about that.
When you're not hobbling around.
Got practice next week hopefully, so it'll make things a lot easier. But yeah, it's awesome news to know that the debt's gone down the way that it has, and that obviously we're trying to take the club positively forward.
Yeah. There's been a lot of hard work. Every single person sat here and an awful lot of people sat over there have contributed to the fact that we've been able to work that debt and get it down to where it is. A lot of hard work. Now, hard work is far more valuable than money, and it will always be in my eyes.
Just as a question then, so we have talked about the Cinderford game. Are we still planning on that being an all-ticket game? And how our ticket sales go?
No, it will be, I'm told reliably it will be a big crowd, but it's not going to be at the level that we were initially told.
Okay.
The last thing I wanted to do is get a ticket broker involved and take away potential revenue to the club. So I've got to speak to the tea ladies, for example, afterwards, and yourself to talk about where we are with that. I think it will be a very good day for the club. I think it will be a gate of probably 700 or 800, but it isn't going to be at the level that was probably thought of a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
That's non-league day, isn't it, everybody? So the other thing that I asked a while back was whether we had any more people that can volunteer to help with stewarding and doing things like that, because certainly, Michelle, if we get this place full, you're going to need more help than just yourself, aren't you? And so we do need more volunteers to step forward. I know it's difficult and everybody has lots of other things on their life, but it would be nice to have a good round of people here for the Cinderford game, definitely to welcome people and quite importantly, talk to people as well. If the people are here that you've not seen at the game before, it would be very important that we extend our friendly welcome to them, and hopefully they'll come back and we'll start getting back the good gates. I got one question here. I was just thinking about the outgoings of the club and what it was when you came in, Paula, and the budget, I think Simon said, was about 1,700, was it?
A long time ago, before my time.
Oh, before your time.
Yeah.
But the outgoings were between 6,000 and 8,000 a month. and that presumably included the...
No, there was 16,000. When I came in, there was 16,000. That was our outgoings, but we were shortfalling by about 6,000 to 8,000 a month, which is why we had to cut the budget.
Yeah, and in the going forward scenario, what will be the sort of monthly income that you'll need to generate, do you think? Have you got any ideas?
I can't really say at the moment because that depends on the players' budget, which is yet to be set. But we are working on the budget. We've actually spent some time doing that last week. It will be clearer probably in the next 2 weeks. I'll be able to give some more figures.
Because those sort of things are useful, because we all hear rumours, don't we? We're always hearing rumours, and it'd be quite nice if we get to the state where we don't hear rumours, we hear facts, and we know everybody knows what's happening, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So the other thing that's coming up, just whilst you're thinking of any more questions, is to plug the comedy night, which is this Friday, and the people that are performing are coming down just for expenses, and the money that the club makes will all obviously go into the club once those expenses are paid. And if you haven't bought the ticket yet, please do.
Just before that event, tomorrow night, there's the curry and quiz night. Yeah, I come first.
Yeah, you come first.
There's not many tickets sold on Friday night, but you do selling another 50 or 60. Seriously,
I've still got 46.
Sorry, Tony.
Only 14 tickets sold so far.
Okay. Do we know if Square Records have sold any?
Yeah, 4.
I've got 46 there in that past.
Okay, so Phil has been putting on those events. They are really good. If you've not been to one before, they're pretty gaudy at times, aren't they? It's over 18, so it's worth coming. Good. Any more questions? Whilst anybody got anything else? Yes, Dave.
What's happening at the Cinderfig game?
What's happening at it?
Yeah, why are we expecting 800 people?
It's the national non-league day when a lot of the top league play games are cancelled. England are playing. So the major league is postponed, and a lot of the non-league clubs get a bigger boost that weekend.
We had an email from a guy from AFC Bournemouth who said he was the head of the AFC Bournemouth family, to say that as Bournemouth had no fixture that day, they would be coming down en masse. Now, initially they were quoting 3,000. Well, we can't obviously accommodate 3,000, but you know where people start, and it just. So I gradually tried to find out more and more. Then we thought it was going to be about 1,500. What it'll turn out to be, as usual, is less. But as I say, we still expect a big game that day. They've been really, really supportive. So hopefully we will get a good.
We could do with a volunteer to run the barbecue on a permanent basis, but on the start we could do with a volunteer to run the barbecue.
The barbecue, yeah. Yeah, no, there'll be plenty of help that day.
Yeah, but Rick needs help then. If it's going to be busy.
If it's going to be that many, then I'm going to do someone.
Don't worry, we'll sort all of that out. That'll all be coordinated to make sure.
But I can get someone. I'll do that.
Good. Any other questions, anybody?
Number one.
Yeah.
You mentioned there's about £35,000 debt left. These up-and-coming events, the backside and that sort of thing, are the profits from that all going towards that debt? Or?
That debt is our priority to pay off first.
That 35,000, does that include the profits from what you expect to get from those events, or is that still to come off?
No, it won't be paid out of those profits, no.
Limerick results? Has everybody finished with questions?
No, I'll go off for Simon.
That's a bit hard.
I seen something on the forum the other day, because I don't usually say it, but I seen something on the forum saying the first half against completely good, but the second half we got tired. Is our fitness completely different than the other teams? Do we do the same fitness levels than the other teams do?
I can't answer about the other teams because I don't know what they do on a week by week basis, but I will say that, and the reference to it earlier, that the squad that we had with regards to the players and the amount of money that we're paying out to them, we weren't getting value for in terms of where our league position was. I think that's fair. And
but that's performance, not fitness level.
Yeah, and one of the first things that I spoke to some of the players that have since departed, in fairness to them, was that I didn't think the Wimborne Town players as a raw squad were fit enough. That was my assessment, from having watched a couple of games, from having spoken to people. And I spoke to the Blackpool and Langley management team after you lost 6-1 at home in the FA Cup, which I'm sure was a pretty dark day. And he said it was men against boys, and it shouldn't have been. And I know Steve Cuss for a long time. I know his coaching methods and all that. And I just think that possibly he was taking a little bit of advantage of by some of the players in terms of letting their fitness levels drop. And I identified it pretty quickly. Brendan's come on board a few weeks later, and we've already sort of said that that's something that needs improving. We're at that stage of the season now where it's going to be difficult to get them to improve their fitness levels by 10-15%. That will be something we'll get to people into pre-season. And I know Scott is here, he's the only player here, but rest assured it will be a tough pre-season for Wimborne Town. They don't want us to be in a situation where we are struggling. Yeah, so enjoy it now, Scotty. So yeah, that's something that I am particularly aware of. That you know, whatever people say about the way that football's changing, that you can do all your fitness work with the ball and all that kind of stuff. You can. But there's a little bit of old school in both myself and Brendan. They've got to put hard miles in on the pitch, on the road, wherever it might be, in order to get their fitness levels to situations where we don't fade against Swindon in the last half an hour, which I think probably did cost us again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any more? Yeah.
Just got a question for Paul. You said that we were losing at 6,000 to 8,000 a month. What is it now? And then next season, do we have initiatives like beyond the dinners and the fundraiser on an ongoing basis to bring in money?
Yeah, we're not losing anything in a month now because we've obviously had to make the cuts to ensure that we don't suffer the shortfall. And what we're looking at now, because the team of experience that we have on the board is looking at driving the income from the function room and the clubhouse by putting on more events. It will still be driven, a lot of income will be driven through what we can produce here. But there'll also be a lot of income driven from the sponsorships, the 2-year deal that we've secured, and also other sponsorships that will follow as a result of that one, actually, and also as a result of the hard work that the board have been putting into local businesses.
Because I do worry that the goodwill we're getting now is not going to last forever.
So it won't.
Defence can only go so
Absolutely
far.
right, no, correct. You need to make hay while the sun shines, and we've certainly tried to do that. We're doing that in the media, and we've done that with a lot of the people in this room. But we need to move on because we'll be old news soon. It'll be, oh well, that was Wimborne Town then, but they're all right now, and people will just lose interest. So we've got to keep on generating interest by doing things a little bit out of the box. The one thing that I think will see this club set apart from others is the fact that it is a traditional club, but we need to start thinking of ideas beyond the obvious and bring a lot of people in, more people, and you get a better result.
Can I just add something on that? The other thing, which I think is also going to be key, is re-establishing connections with the town itself. And that is through the schools, that is through local organisations, that's finding out where we can form partnerships with whoever. I've already had 2 conversations, I've got another 2 booked up. And it's very apparent to me that the ones I've spoken to and the ones I'm going to see are very keen to have an association with this club in whatever way it is. Now, it may not necessarily mean that they'll provide necessarily free coaches for the little kids on a Saturday morning, but it may provide, bringing a whole load of people in on certain events that we may hold during the course of the season. We've got some initiatives that we're going to do on that. And I think it would be really good if we can actually get the town enthused a lot more with the club. And that would also help the footfall that comes in as well. And with the footfall comes in a bit of atmosphere. And it's always nice to hear Scott's remarks after the match, is that the players realise when things are buzzing around the stadium as well. And I think that's all going to help everyone. It's not the end thing, it's not going to be the answer to everything, but I think, as Paula was saying, with each member of the board playing their part, I think there is a real big effort and an opportunity for Wimborne to move big leaps forward.
On the news front side, I was just thinking, because I saw it earlier today on the forum, that already Gosport has sort of taken the position that we perhaps have sadly for them, but they're already becoming the news item now about a club in financial trouble, apparently. And I hope that isn't the case, because I like Ian the Gospel. But you know, things do move quickly, so we do only have a short frame of time to get things going. Simon wants to come back with some stuff.
Yeah, this is something I meant to mention earlier. Brenda just reminded me. One of the things that I talked about was player budgets, and I don't want you to get too hung up on the fact that the basis on how good our club will be, on how much money we've got to spend each week next year. I mean, it will have a bearing. Don't get me wrong. We need to get some more quality into the club, but what we have done is try to establish a bit better of a link between ourselves and the other teams within the club, and I mean the youth and the under 16s and the reserves. I helped out with the reserves early part of my time here, and it's a little bit patchy and it needed a little bit of direction, and I hope we've probably got that now. I spoke to Tony and to Lee, who are here tonight with the under 16s side. They've been very successful in the JPL. They're going to be moving into men's football next season, and all things being well, they'll be involved with running the reserves in the Wyvern League. So the future of the club in terms of the playing element is not just about Paula giving me a big pot of cash, which I can then spend on, you know, some mercenary footballer from another club coming in and doing the business for us. It will be about bringing these players forward. We're talking about the club being in the new ground in 2019. It'd be nice for some of those lads who are 15, 16, 17 years old now, still at the club and being part of the first team in that, you know, in the future. So we've got things in place. So we've got a situation where the 16s will feed into the youth will feed into the reserves, and hopefully the reserves will feed into my squad. It's not going to work every time, and I've said this to Lee and Tony and to Steve, who are in the 16s. There's some good lads they've got there, which if I get 5 or 6 of those that end up playing in the first team, brilliant. It won't be all of them, because that's not how it works at some professional level. Sometimes I do have to go out and sign a marquee centre half, centre forward, goalkeeper, whatever, and I'll try and do that. But the future of the club in terms of the football side of things is hopefully quite positive as well. Okay.
Just been reminded too that we ought to give a big round of applause to the Ability Counts team who won the league, which is a good. I think that will have quite a good effect on one of the schools you're talking to is Bowcroft, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and there's a whole 1,000 people that could potentially be coming here on a regular basis, the families of that school there. And if we are able to encourage all angles of the community to play here. Have we got a women's team yet? We haven't, we?
No, but that's
next.
That's another one on the agenda.
And walking,
walking team.
Walking football. Tony's the recruiting sergeant for a walking football team. And so there's lots of anything else about what Simon was saying regarding the structure? I think with Paul Miller, you'll be working with Paul Miller on that, I guess, won't you, on how that all develops as, is that right, Paul's doing that?
Yes, he's going to be head of football development, yeah.
So how that all fits together. Shall I do the limericks? Shall I? Oh, why not? I have actually. I thought it was amazing. There were how many, Graham, were there? Nearly 30?
Yeah, 26.
26. So we'll work backwards. There were some really cracking ones, and there were some that couldn't be read out. There was a joint third place, and with Cuthbury, nothing will rhyme. Forsake her now, no, a foul crime. We'll regroup, do our best, our soul put to the test. Even so, I still can't rhyme the first line. So that was joint third, along with this one. Well done to the lads and lasses for putting pen to their pads and showing the masses. This club we must save, loved from cradle to grave, from father to son, the passion we've won. And as the tension mounts, we know ability counts. Here till the end, it's simply black and white, my friend. Which was a good one. And in second place, It's black and white to see, the Magpies need you and me. Come join us all, answer the call, and together we'll soon shout, yippee! And the winner. See, remember the brief was save our club. And the winner was, football's the name of the game. We seek neither fortune nor fame. Our love of the sport makes us loudly exhort. Come join us and you'll feel the same. So that was the number 4 entry, Graham. Who was that? Graham, do you know?
I
got the name?
4 better.
Well, there we are. Thank you for joining in that, and I'm sure these will become new inspirational signs around the ground as we speak. Any more for any more? Well, thank you all very much for coming, and I'm sure the bar will remain open so that you can spend lots of time. Thank you very much for coming, and hopefully we'll see you all.
What was it? Sometimes the ability of the council.